Red Rocket, out in theaters, directed by Sean Baker, author of Tangerine and the Florida Project. This new film stars Simon Rex and bears many, many similarities to the previous works of Sean Baker. Things like the story orbiting around the regular lives of irregular people, people who live sort of on the fringes of society, people who are unglamorous and not necessarily successful in their lives, and yet they try to do the best they can day in, day out. There's the heavy focus on the location of the story, which becomes almost a character in itself. There's great cinematography with warm, summery vibes of the days and the grainy, darker shades of evenings and nights. There's Baker's insistence on using unknown actors and actresses, sometimes even complete amateurs, to a fantastic effect. And there's also the chaotic energy of his characters and the way that this inevitably results in shouting matches, arguments, absurdly weird situations, and clashes between different people. This time around, the story centers around Mikey, a middle-aged former porn star who returns after many years in Los Angeles to his hometown, Texas City. He is very clearly down on his luck. We never actually learn for sure what happened, if something specific even happened, or was it just a series of bad life choices in general over the years. But he's got no money, no prospects, no place to stay, no job, literally just the clothes on his back when he first appears in the film. He worms his way into the old shitty house of his estranged wife, who is now living with her mom, and after some unsuccessful job interviews, he decides to make his living by dealing weed in the neighborhood. And so life goes, until one day he meets a young, barely 18 years old girl nicknamed Strawberry, who works at a local donut shop. And he just falls head over heels for her, totally in love, and he begins a ploy to win her heart. And her body as well, let's be honest here. So I have to say, I enjoyed the previous Sean Baker movies enormously, and so I expected a lot from this one as well. And yet, it still managed to exceed those expectations. I think Red Rocket is a spectacular film at what it's doing, which is this slice of life character study, which is also a postcard from a certain place at a certain time with a certain type of people. Now, despite the fact that I think that the film is generally well put together in terms of like cinematography, the script, the comedic moments, the performances overall from the cast, they're all very good. And despite all of that, the film is still heavily carried by that central performance from Simon Rex, who I think is sensational in this film. I mean, it's it's shocking because this is a guy who really literally did pornography early in his career and then starred in multiple parody movies, including the Scary Film series, each of them more awful than the last one. And yet here he's like an alien. He's completely incredible. What's most impressive is the way he makes this character come alive. See, as I was watching the film, I thought to myself, by all accounts, this Mikey guy is an unlikable douchebag. He's selfish, he embellishes and straight up lies all the time, he only works towards his own goals, he manipulates people around him and uses them, and when the time comes for him to take any responsibility to be the good guy, he's not there, he's a coward essentially. And yet I couldn't bring myself to hate him, even to not like him. Somehow the charisma and the likability is there to such a degree that I was starting to buy into his bullshit. In the back of my head, I was fully aware that this is not a good person, yet I still would have loved to hang out with him. I think it really takes a brilliant performance to buy me on such a level, and Simon Rex manages to do just that. And not only that, because there are many scenes where we can see him be, more calculating about stuff and thinking about stuff. And just below the surface, you can see his thought process on his head, on his face, I mean. And a lot of those more dramatic moments, because they are pretty dramatic when he's really facing tough decisions and tough consequences, they're very different tonally than his usual, like, larger-than-life comedic persona, very charismatic. And he pulls both sides of this character off really well. So again, just superb stuff from him. And as I said before, everything else also clicks, everything around him. The film truly evokes the atmosphere of a place that I could feel and experience, even though I've never been there. It also has this lazy summer vibe to it, just pleasant to spend time in the world of the film. Even though it is white trash neighborhoods next to loud and smoky oil refineries filled with absurd weirdos, it's just very watchable. The one thing I can see some people being turned off is the very ending of the film, which I think is similar to the Florida Project in the way that it's kind of jarring, and I think shouldn't be read literally, but rather as a fantasy metaphor of sorts, making one final statement in a story filled with craziness. So I was able to roll with it. I accepted it. And yeah, I loved this film. I think it's witty and clever and charming. It takes you on a ride, and most importantly, it is just simply enjoyable.